the easier the performance gets. I was a professional performer in New York for 10 years, so I know that drill really well. And the more I research about, of course, the property itself, and we're going to go through some tools here that Robert has been a big help for me. The more you know about that property, the more you're going to have information to arm your seller with a very successful marketing arrangement. I even take time to go on Google. I want to find out about my seller. I want to go on social media to find out about his family. There may be some of the kids just may have won a major award or a tremendous upgrade in their jobs or something like that. So the more you know, the more you will be prepared for sure. Through this information today at the end, I'm going to go over briefly, which I could maybe possibly be another presentation in the future, how I was very fortunate in my first 6 months of business to do a listing presentation and gain a $15 million listing. At the end and tell you about that, which I call big game hunting. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. Let me get to the next slide. My assumption today is that most of you are very experienced as far as having listings before. Forgive me if I go over something that you already know, but hopefully we'll go back to general rule here that we're looking for any information that we can help out with for a listing presentation and information that we could put there. We must think of ourselves as a corporation. This is a major business that we're in. We have the chance to make a lot of money. So I started my company in 2003, and it was an LLC, and I started right then and basically didn't look back. I started at the age of 57, so failure was not an option. So I went about it maybe some different ways than somebody that's in their early 30s or younger. There's other ways to do it, but that is the way I needed to go about it at that particular time in my life. You have you have two major departments when you're in a corporation. You have sellers and you have buyers. Today, of course, we're going to be talking about the sellers. You need to assemble a staff to help you, like any corporation would do. You need to have photographers, and that's more than one. You need to have handymen. You need to have a landscape team that is ready to go clean up the yard of that listing quick if you need it. You need a good heat and air person, plumbing contractor, electrical contractor, and stagers now are becoming very, very important. We are very fortunate in our company to have Glenn Hubble, not only a very fine young realtor, but he's got a great staging company, and he helped me just kind of doctor up a listing. They didn't have the money to buy new furniture, but we rearranged the furniture and some new sheer curtains and painted a couple of rooms and some pop modern art from Target. And it really had a wow factor after Glenn finished with that. And we sold it. Literally, that one did sell in one day. So thanks to Glenn on that. Your pre-listing presentation to me is very important. About 6 years ago, when I was with a RE/MAX affiliate in Oklahoma City, I was there for 12 years before I was introduced to this wonderful concept of EXp Realty, and have been just wonderful opportunity to be with EXP in my particular group, and Mike Mruwat's done a great job with this group. But when I was a performer in New York, or if you're a professional athlete, you have a manager or an agent. So in our business, we don't have that. You're it. So the pre-listing presentation gives you an opportunity to send some information about you to them before you ever meet. And it has proven to be very, very good for me. I took a lot of this, if you liked it, this was really from Micah Mruwatz. I took a lot of hers and she said it was okay. I heard a session earlier today about specializing in our state meeting. I think everybody needs to have some kind of specialization in their business, and mine is historic, midtown, and downtown. So that has been very good for me. We lived in a historic home for 23 and a half years. Fortunate enough to serve on the Historic Preservation Commission here in Oklahoma City. So I know a lot about historic homes, and I did a lot of work with developers, as we'll go through that here shortly. But this is the pre-listing presentation that I send to everyone before we actually meet. Kind of go through it. I have just my basic bio here on the first part. Give them a little background about me. Kind of talk about our marketing. Definitely let them know that it's going to be on MLS, yard sign, lockbox, accurate showing instructions. We do a lot, as you know now, from conversion with social media postings and Facebook exposure. Robert and Glenn have been tremendously helpful for me in that regard. And in our hottest district here in Oklahoma City, which is the historic area, we sometimes have homes sold before they go on the market, and it's from that initial work. Reverse prospecting, of course, offering, making sure they're going to know they're going to have an open house, the broker's open, maybe, and then of course syndication on the top online portals, many sites that their property will be listed on. There's some wonderful flyers on Breakthrough Broker. Before I came to EXp, I had some custom ones done, and I think certain ones you may want to have a custom flyer. It can be a template that you can use for other ones. This was one I had for a condo project here in downtown Oklahoma City. Here's a couple more for a historic home, and one in Edmond, which is a bedroom community north of Oklahoma City. Try to put the salient features of the home, but make sure they can see what it's going to be like if they had a flyer themselves. Then, of course, our online and offline visibility. I'm working on my website right now with some help from other people. I'm going to try to make it even more good looking with other specialties of mine. It's in process right now. Of course, with maximum exposure, we show them basically where they're going to be. There's websites that we end up having our listings on that I've never heard of. So it's a very wide-reaching outlet to over 900 that maximum exposure, and it's nice for your sellers to know that before you even show up. I'd like to tell about my exclusive services. I hired myself in December. We have a group called the Relocation Experts. I sell the house. A gentleman named Matt McNeil does the estate sale, and then a packing company, Senior Transitions. So I sold my house, Matt did the estate sale, and Amber did our packing, and went right on to a hotel for 9 weeks until our home was ready. But we did that work ourselves. Online visibility, buyers agents, we make sure we contact the 80-20 rule. 20% of the work's usually 80% of the work's done by 20% of the people. I always want to make sure that the people that are the movers and shakers in Oklahoma City know about especially the good listings that are of interest to many people. We are full service brokerage. So we like to make sure that they know that we're going to do everything possible with the best tools and technology for a less cost to help them market their homes. Fees and services, we just up front and let them know about our normal practice here is 6% split 3 and 3. You can see the professional photography, and of course we talked about the staging. My thoughts on photography are that you want the best photographer you can find, that is not going to make the house look better or worse than it is, that is going to be a true, accurate reflection of what that house actually looks like. To me, the more luxurious the listing, and that would be a different price point in all over the United States, that's when I would bring in the best videographer that I could find with narration to point out specifically the luxury items in that home. There may be other listings that would just need a good photographer. So be aware of the Matterport photography that can be done now, basically walking through each room. In Oklahoma City, we've got a lot of horse farms and ranches a minimum 5 acres. So those may be the ones that maybe you bring in that person that can do the drone uh, shots of the entire property, and then maybe the others from there. Okay. I want to tell you a little bit about Home Partners of America if you are not aware of them by now. It's a company that can actually come in and purchase your seller's home, having trouble finding people that are qualified to buy it. In Oklahoma City, we have a unique market in that there are people that have lost their jobs in the oil industry, but they have a good payout, but their credit score is not very good. So a company like Home Partners of America, and you should talk with your broker owners about this to see if that might be an option for you to help you sell. But just to let your sellers know that there's going to be other aspects you can sell. It would be a normal sale. You get paid, they get paid. And then the new buyer is now doing a lease option with Home Partners of America. We also have a company here in Oklahoma City that does self-directed IRA funds and can sell homes just like this. They need a minimum of 7% down. They can go up higher than the Home Partners of America do. So it's we had a sale like that last year. It's very, very unique and gives you the ability to now be in the lease purchase option business. Here's the facts. We're talking about the exposure and safety, having a realtor work for them. 1/3 of recent buyers reported their first step in the home buying process was looking online for homes. That is our business. We can help them with that. 85% of sellers are assisted by real estate agents when selling their homes. I took this from Micah. I believe she's here today. I stole this from her. Many realtors only use the 4 Ps. Put it in the MLS, put up a sign, put an ad in the paper, and pray. Praying is always good, but we want to make sure that they know there's going to be some other aspects to the sale that will give them much better satisfaction on how we will go forth and do this. Now we can go. I have a couple of pages of testimonials in my pre-listing presentation so they can see what people have remarked about my working with them very well. I'm very, very big on quotes. And there's a quote I'm going to show you here in a second that has served me well in life, in my marriage, in my friendships, at my church, and especially in real estate. And it was by Larry King. I never learned anything while I was talking. Many times we have to be better listeners than talkers. I hope that you will keep that in the back of your mind because many times people will tell you things they never thought they were telling you. And on that initial home visit, this is very important to that process by letting them talk. I asked for a tour of the home. They're the best tour guides of their home because they know it better than you will ever know it. I try to take notes with a clipboard as I'm walking around, and I just listen as much as I can get from them. Then we have maybe a short meeting at the end to hear some of their thoughts about it, kind of a soft close for the deal. You know, basically, why are they selling? What is the timing? Do they need to be out in 3 weeks? Are they in a hurry? They've got plenty of time. They don't have to sell. All of those things will help you in answering their questions. What are their concerns? That is a very good question to ask because they have some concerns. And anytime I know we as brokers, it wasn't an enjoyable process. Luckily, I sold mine fast because of my social media work and that I had done. But showings aren't fun. So to find out about those problems they're thinking about, their initial thoughts on pricing, and then present them with your comparative market analysis and RPR information, which we're going to go over the basics of that here shortly. But at the end of this little session, I'm going to present them with the most beautiful flyer of their home that I can come up with my graphic artist. I want them to see exactly what we're doing. If I felt like things are going, I can say, I could get Wednesday. How does that sound? Just to kind of judge and see where they are with all of that, and you go from there. So that's the initial home visit. If you're not familiar with the Realtor's Property Resource, you will want to find out about it as soon as you can. It is on our MLS. We can generate various reports, and there's Robert's here with me, about six or seven different ones that you can generate, and it's on the National Association of Realtors site. But your local MLS may have one. If you do, I would highly suggest that you utilize this and get this information to them and have it with you. Of course, the normal photo of the home, kind of a current estimated value, home facts, a lot of excellent information from these. View from above, lot size, of course, the normal photos. There's a lot of places you can get photos for that flyer if you're going to give one out at that first meeting. It's a pretty nice listing, this one here. Other information about it, what's pending nearby, other information on the property, living areas, lot size, all of that.
You mentioned you can modify those.
And you can modify, yeah, Robert, thank you, Robert, that you can modify many of these comps and adjustments in the process. So there's very good training videos on the website about in this source. So there's many different other ways you can specify how you're going to implement this tool for them. The property history, always very important. Buyers always go trying to find out what that seller had paid for the house. Deed records, another property report. This is an interesting one, a 12-month change in estimated values in the area. Just great information. You can find out which areas that are nearby that aren't doing well that might affect their pricing. So these are aspects of the listing in the general area that would help you in your conversations with them, especially if you're having a problem about talking about price. Can always be a challenge. Some other ones here, the same type of information. I highly suggest you take a look at this wonderful report, and I hope that it's already on your MLS. Here we have maybe another session at this time, or maybe later, to go over, actually show them the CMA findings that you've come up to. I like to listen to their thoughts on pricing. And if it's too high, we can always make adjustments to that if they understand it. But last year I had a home in the hottest historic area in town, called Heritage Hills. And it was on 15th Street, which is kind of in the middle of this area. The only comp I could find on that home was on 21st Street, almost the exact same size, wood frame, needed complete remodeling. The comp was $360,000. So I mentioned to the two brothers who were selling it and splitting the proceeds from their parents, I said, I'm thinking, we'll get a significant bump to this pricing because we're going to be in the heart of the neighborhood and it's a beautiful street the farther south you go. What do you think? And they said, we want to start at $450,000. And I said, I'm in agreement with you. We don't want to be there too long if we don't have any success. If we're not getting any showings, we know we're at too high a price, of course. So we started at 450,000 and we had 5 offers in 2 days. So my sellers were just right, and I'm glad that I've always tried to listen to them and get their thoughts on that. Possibility of selling a home, especially a historic home, in as-is condition. It would be so many things to do. It would be almost impossible to try to satisfy someone that. So many homes in the historic areas or older homes can be sold in as-is condition. Make sure they're aware they can have a buyer-seller warranty for their listing. That's always kind of a nice thing to have. I always have a copy of the listing agreement with me. There are some very complicated sections to any listing agreement. You want to make sure that you have a thorough grasp of the listing agreement, because they're going to ask you questions, and every now and then you're going to get a reader. When we go to title companies, we warn them we've got a reader, so you send them all the documents the night before because they're going to want to read every word. Well, there are readers in the listing agreement, so make sure you're ready with that. And then this is the time where I help them with their property disclosure to make sure if they have any questions about that as we proceed. Reserve buyers. Many times you'll find people that say, I've got 4 people I know that want to buy this house. Well, that can happen, and they'll probably ask about a reduced commission if you were to sell to them. You'll have to take those things under consideration and go over it with your broker owners, but that's good information to find out about. But I always try to actually have a time limit for those, maybe a week tops. Let those people come in first, see if they want to move forward, tell everybody exactly what's happening. We want to give you the first opportunity to buy this home. And you'll find out pretty fast whether somebody, most of them back out. I've never had a reserve buyer work out in 13 years, but I'm sure there are some around that have for sure. Open houses. Let me think. Let me go back here. Okay, we did that. Great. On open houses, there's some, you have to speak again with your broker owners. I used to register everyone the minute they walked in the door and they knew I was going to be calling them for a week. I kind of stopped doing that because I've had other ways of talking to them, and you can ask certain questions that will be leading questions to help you know whether they might be a good fit for you to work with them, and you'll know that right away when you're talking to people. But in the beginning, it's a great way to find buyers, so you can decide about that. Many times, clients that would never call for a showing will come to an open house. So there's no nosy neighbors. They're all viable people, or they may know someone who wants to be in the area or that exact home. This is also an opportunity to showcase other homes in the area. Many times I'll have my iPad there, and I'll have another 8 or 10 homes on there. They can scroll through and see other homes for themselves. Many times people come to open houses for homes that are really more expensive than they can afford, but they're out kind of having a shopping spree and looking around, and there's nothing wrong with that. But those are the ones we can hopefully capture as buyers in the future. There's some good open house apps. I'm sure you've all seen those around the country. One of the best trainings I took through Remax was 100 Days to Greatness. They had many different dialogue sessions, and it helped with questions when people came to open houses. There's one tremendous category there, because anytime someone comes to an open house, it's like going to Macy's, and you have that, and they say, "Can I help you?" And what do you say? "I'm just looking." Well, that happens, of course, in many of our open houses. So some other questions you can ask: do you live nearby? Are you thinking about downsizing? Would it be best for you to sell before you buy a home? I try to keep it loose and friendly. You can have cookies and lemonade and whatever, but to make it a fun experience, just to kind of get them through and to make it as enjoyable as possible. Here's my group that we formed, the Relocation Experts. Me and Amber and Matt McNeil here. Just a lot of fun to work with. Very professional. If he can't do the estate sale, he's got other people that can do it. On the back of this flyer, I put some recommendations that I have received from other people. If I don't have this with me, I might have just the flyer of the home, and I'll put my information testimonials on the back of that. Use this opportunity to sell yourself when you're at an open house. Brokers opens, I think, are tremendous. I had one of the best ones I had last year. It was with Robert's wife, who's Nicole, who is a wonderful lender. And we invited lenders and title companies, insurers, security companies. People had never thought about asking to a broker's open, and that brought out the realtors. So we had more prize money and gifts to allow. And it's excellent for your sellers. They really view this as an extra added benefit that you went kind of beyond the call of duty there to have a broker's open and to assist them in that way. Second showings, in my opinion, the listing associate should always offer to be at a second showing for questions. I've never had anybody take me up on that. The only ones that I kind of really stress that I would like to be there are on very complicated condominium, uh, homeowners associations, or difficult covenants and restrictions that need to be explained, especially with regard to studs out and studs in insurance. Most of them are studs out insurance, but one of my big ones that I showed you the flyer on also had studs in insurance. So that's how I can help illustrate to the buyer. That's why the HO is higher, because all they were going to need basically was contents insurance, because all the other insurance to rebuild the home were covered in that homeowners association fee. All right. Accepting offers. Accept them in a timely fashion. Keep everybody in communication as much as possible every step of the way. With your writing earnest money in writing, of course, for the offer, with earnest money copy and a pre-approval letter. Multiple offers are very, very tricky. As I said, we had 5 last year, and there are very specific guidelines in each city, in each MLS district on how they handle these. So you may want to definitely talk to your broker owner, and we are in contact with our Daryl Baskin and Micah Ruwat about our procedures on that, just so we handle those. You want to document and save all offers so that they know that their offer was actually submitted to the seller. I've run into some kind of unfortunate circumstances in my past with regard to that when I submitted offers. Inspections. This is always, you want to make sure that they understand that there's going to be an inspection of their home, and it could be quite detailed. You always want to coordinate this with your seller so that they know that it is happening, when it's going to happen. They should not be there. That is always the best. You want to know exactly who's coming and what are they going to be checking for. Very important to make sure that they are, how do you get into the attic? How do you get into the crawl space? On many of our little historic homes, the smaller ones, the crawl space is not easy to even find, because sometimes it can be on the side of the house in the middle of the bushes. So you want to make sure that you can help that person get going. This is a new one for me. And please check again with your broker owners on whether you want to be in attendance at an inspection. My practice is to go and make sure everyone is open and they got everything opened up okay. They knew where to get to everything, where was the drop down, the access to the attic, crawl space, and this kind of thing. But after that, I kind of let them do it and let him lock up. One problem is that if you hear something in that inspection process, you will then have knowledge of that problem. So, of course, in Oklahoma now, we do have to submit the inspection report to the seller. That is by law in our contract now. So you'll have to let your broker owner and you come upon whatever would be the best situation for yourself. Oh yeah, good idea. Robert just gave me there's another, you might want to have an inspection of your home before the listing comes up. There's a couple of different thoughts about that. You may find out that's you really didn't think you were going to have to take care of. If it needed 10 piers, it could get complicated. So keep that in mind. But sometimes they want to have a general inspection just to kind of make sure they can get some electric and plumbing things kind of up to speed. All right. Sometimes when you get into actual repairs or allowances, sometimes when there is a negotiation, I had a historic home that I showed you a photo of earlier with a big green tile roof. The seller asked for a roof repair, and it was $9,000. We asked for a significant amount of earnest money, and we would do that before the closing, but that earnest money would then become non-refundable. So just something to keep in mind if you end up with something like that, to make sure that that goes through smoothly. Final walkthroughs are very important. I had a friend of mine didn't have his buyer a final walkthrough, and the seller had taken the refrigerator and the washer and dryer, and it was supposed, and they looked back, and it was supposed to be in the left with the home as per the contract. So it's always, that final walkthrough is very important. It's good for the selling agent, and of course the buyer's agent to be there and make sure everything is straight before the closing. Ensure that the buyers, I think everybody's aware of this now, but just to make sure they're completely aware of the TRID guidelines on that 3-day disclosure period, because it can certainly hold up closings. I think in general things are going much better with the TRID guidelines myself, in my opinion, but I'll let you all have your own opinions about that. Once you have a closing, you want to make sure that you announced it on social media. I think it's very important to have social media going on, and we have just learned so much in our company with Facebook and Facebook squeeze pages. I'm sure you're learning that through conversion. Conversion is one of the best aspects of EXP that there is, besides revenue share. That's also pretty nice. And so we've been very, very happy about that. But make sure you get your closings definitely earmarked on social media so people kind of know what you're up to there. I'll go back now to my very beginning of my real estate career in 2004 and talk about big game hunting. Every salesman knows what this is. I have had some people in credit card processing that thought, well, I'm going to go after McDonald's and see if I can get that credit card processing. Well, that's probably not going to work out very well. But in real estate, you want to be careful about how much time you spend on big game hunting. And that's one thing that I started at the age of 57. I had a son in high school, and failure was not an option. So I wanted to do some things that I would hope that could jumpstart my business, and I was lucky that it worked out. I had hired a headhunting firm in Oklahoma City who did a wonderful job. We created about 6 different resumes for myself, and went and had interviews with various companies. Thinking along that way, what happens? I'm 57. What happens if I'm 62? And then they think, George, we're going to have to downsize. We're not going to need you anymore. And that's when a mentor of mine at my church, Dr. Sandy Sandbar, said, George, why don't you go into business for yourself? And that's when the light went on. My dad was a very successful realtor in Florida who specialized in hotels and motels. So I grew up in the business. And that's when we decided to go into real estate full time. And we were very fortunate how that went forth. One of the things they taught us in my classes on with the headhunting firm was to read the newspaper every day. I know there are many of our younger folks that don't read the paper, but I can tell you it's on a tablet. You can get it on tablets too, if that'll make you feel more technologically advanced. But the reason they told us to do this was because you want to keep up with everything that's going on in your city. You may find something about one of your sellers in a newspaper article or a former client, and you can send them a note and say, congratulations on your promotion or whatever it is. But this is where in the newspaper I saw an article about Mr. Richard Tannenbaum, and he was retrofitting this big building in Oklahoma City called Citizens Tower. And it was a office building, and he was going to retrofit it to 66 condominiums. He didn't mention any listing associates, so I thought, you know, I might as well write him a letter, basically a cold call letter to offer my services as a realtor. There were a couple other realtors in the company there that went in with us. One other young man, he had 12 years of experience in real estate. My wife and I had 3 months. So I said, well, we have 13 years of experience. And I wanted to gild the lily just a little bit, but I knew that I had the confidence that I could do whatever was necessary. And I called him, and they put me on to his attorney, Jeff Hart. And Mr. Hart said, you know, George, we're impressed with your proposal. Why don't you come in and talk to us about it? So within a week or so, we went into his office. He is a big time developer in Oklahoma City, a multi-million dollar projects that Mr. Tannenbaum is involved with. I could tell he was nervous. I found out later I didn't really like residential realtors much. I'm glad I didn't know that before I got there. But we sat down and I had a 50-page listing preparation agreement, or not an agreement, a presentation for him where we went through potential floor plans and views from the building and photos of the building and potential clients. It's in the middle of our Asian district. I even chose an Asian realtor to be on my team with me. We had a team of 6 people that I proposed, and we had about 6 copies of that listing presentation, handed it to everyone, and Mr. Tannenbaum looked at it, and he looked up at us and he said, you got 60 seconds. And I thought to myself, you know, this is going well. And we just we just thought, well, Mr. Tannenbaum, why don't you tell us a little bit about your project? And he literally talked for 45 minutes about this project, and he told me about everything I needed to know and how to go about how we would work through this process. It took us probably another 3 months to refine the sales team. We were in on choosing the amenities for the home, the finishes. He leaned on us and we leaned on him, and we had a very successful thing. We sold 14 of these, but he felt at that point that it wasn't enough to move forward. We did not close on one of them, but it launched my work with developers, and then I sold other properties from having this listing. When you have a $50 million listing, a lot of people contact you. So it was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for me, and it kind of launched my work with the historic Midtown and downtown properties after that point. Um, this is basically the end here, Brad, of what I was going to talk about today. The most a good thing that I had heard from some friends in Florida is this: if you list, you last. And I think it's very important. I hope you will work on getting listings. Brad's given us a big opportunity here to go after. We have to list America here, so we have a lot of work to do. And it's been wonderful to learn from Brad, especially on his thoughts on Zillow. Brad, I lost a buyer to a client saw on Zillow that the house was worth $218,000. I wanted to sell it for $236,000. So I lost him because of Zillow. So you all want to make sure that you're going to be up against Zillow a lot. So you may want to check out About Zestimates. And it's on the bottom of the Zillow page and kind of gives you a breakdown of their success rate. And it is not very good in many, many areas of the country. And go to Brad's class.
Yeah, so next Tuesday, thanks for the plug, George. It's next Tuesday
There
in the
we
RE
go.
Tech
There you
campus.
go.
If you go to if you go to the RE Tech, or actually you can just go to expcloud.com. It's on the calendar for next Tuesday. It's at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and I'm fortunate to have walked the hallways there and helped them go public after 4 years of
Oh
employment
boy.
at Zillow. And so I want to share every technique, every concept, every best practice, every tip I can with anybody in the industry. Please invite a friend. It doesn't matter if you're with EXp Realty, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Century 21. The RE Tech campus here in our world is open to any and all real estate professionals around the globe. And so I'm inviting everyone. And George, thank you. This is great. I did record this, everybody. If you want to go back and review it, you'll find it under the working with buyer, or actually working with sellers, since this would be the anatomy of a listing. And is it okay if we open the floor for any questions, George?
I'd love it.
Anybody? Let's see. We can look in the text chat here. Where do I get the blank template? You know, there's an EXP listing presentation, the EXP Cloud. There is some templates around, and you know, there's we offer Breakthrough Broker to all of our agents owners here. We also have on the EXP Cloud toolbox all kinds of things, including a template for listing presentations. Anybody have any questions for George or Robert? I know Robert's in the background.
We've got him here.
Yes, I do.
Yes, go
You
ahead.
know, how do you handle, well, in our area, when I had an open house, it could be anywhere between 20 and 40 people coming all at once, and it's just difficult to capture everybody. So how do you handle that big of a crowd?
You know, I've been helpful. Robert's wife, Nicole, and I will do open houses together. So that can kind of help that out a little bit, so that she could talk to some and get names and numbers. I can do the same thing myself. But that's when if you have a flyer to give them that's got your testimonials on the back and your website and things like that, at least try to hand that to them and say, please connect on my website. I know you would love, if you're searching, you would love my conversion website. It's fantastic. You can save properties. At least try to connect with them that much, so that they can hopefully work with you in the future and begin their process with you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I saw a question from Melinda. Thanks, Melinda. Great question. And by the way, we actually do certified training for RPR. And if you can't get it right through your MLS, you can get it right through NAR. If you are a paying member in good standing of the National Association of Realtors, you all have access to RPR, which is 160 million homes available to all of you. But the question from Melinda, which is great, was, in your opinion, George, how accurate is RPR?
Robert, you're right here. He's probably done more than I have, probably more so than Zillow.
You think?
Robert, do you want to chime in?
Yeah.
It can be accurate, but a lot of times the pricing is overstated. My mic on? Sorry. It can be accurate,
Yeah,
but
no, we
a
heard
lot
you.
of times the pricing is overstated. You know, I would definitely go in and rely on setting comps. You can set comps for the property, and you get a lot better idea of the comparative value. Sorry, George and I are standing next to each other, so we're kind of echoing.
Yeah, go ahead and mute. That's good. And the other thing about that is you have to remember a lot of these sources, including Zillow and Realtor.com and RPR and all these sites out there, they're all pulling from different resources and different big data sites and public record data and CMDC comps and you name it. It's a world of internet data out there, and so you know, the reality is garbage in, garbage out. It's not to say that it's not a good tool or something you shouldn't be using, but remember, in reality, it's the people you're dealing with and the homes you're dealing with independently, one by one, that you really have to drill down to get that fair market value. I often will tell people, you know, we kind of chat about the Zestimates a little bit, but you realize it is just a Zestimate, and the reason they call it a Zestimate is because they didn't name their company Gillo. If they would have just named the company, George, I knew that would get you. If it were called Gillo, then guess what they would have called it?
Guesstimate.
A guesstimate. Yes, it's a guesstimate, and that's all it is. And when you think about that value, and Robert, in reference to your answer to the question, it really is this. When you think about the homeowner you're talking to, and you ask them, "What do you believe your home is worth?" You know they have an opinion. And then when you ask you, as their real estate representing them, what you think the home is worth, I guarantee you got a different number. But then you go talk to the lender, and the lender's saying, "Yeah, I think it's around this number." And then you go talk to the appraiser who says, nope, it's only worth this. But then how come the tax assessor comes up with this mansion-like figure? So really, and then you throw Zillow into the mix, everybody's guessing, folks. And I think you all know what the value of any home in America really is today. Even if you list it at 350, if I have a million cash and I want it, what is that home worth? It's what any buyer is willing to pay for that property. That's the value of every home in America. And so, I wouldn't get caught up on any market value data, big data, little data, ZTRs. It's really you, it's the customer, and determining, what's a good list price, because obviously you want the activity. Thanks, Jeannie. Um, but seriously, it really is. Everything is an isolated, one by one, one-on-one case, and so don't get too caught up into the data sites that give inaccurate information. If you guys have, if George, if somebody wanted to reach out to you or Robert, is there a way? I mean, I hate to expose you to the world of real estate, email and phone calls and text messages, but is there a specific way people could reach out to you if they later on in the day or in a week, or somebody watching this has a question, wants to reach out to you?
Email would be the best for me. I'm happy to respond. George.massey, Massey, at exprealty.com.
Nice. Would you do me a favor, my friend, and just type that down into the text chat like Robert just did, and that way people can highlight it, copy and
Robert's
paste
going
it.
to get that in there for us. So
Nice. Awesome.
happy to try to answer any questions that I might be able to help with.
Appreciate that
On
very much.
Zestimates, Brad, one of my thoughts, and we haven't had a chance to talk about this, in a historic home, in the historic areas, they have never been in the homes. So the amount of remodeling, that's what I couldn't get through to this client that I was telling about during that segment. I tried to illustrate to him all of the upgrades that this family had done with granite countertops and a new half bath and all of this, and he just wouldn't have anything to do with it. But I knew that that was my own best shot to try to save it, but he just wouldn't go there.
Sure. And one of the things, George, we'll talk about is that one tool that you were mentioning. It's the Zillow Accuracy Data Report. And in many cases, a lot of our agents around the world hear, as they're meeting with the customer, yeah, but Zillow says, and I'll tell you, when you pull out that accuracy data chart and you say, yeah, but they also say this, and you show them that they willingly agree and admit that it is not a appraisal and it is not a price. It is a guess based on algorithms and data and information. And they truly do recommend right on their website to reach out to a local real estate professional like you or an appraiser to get the true value of market of their home. So what we're going to show everybody on Tuesday is how to use that and a bunch of other tools where anytime you have a discussion with Zillow, you can actually ask the customer, well, do you not like this estimate? Would you like to change it? And I can show you guys how to market for free on any home on Zillow by going in and showing the consumer how to change this estimate by simply claiming the home, logging into it, and then you can put your information under the owner's estimate where you have your name, your phone number, your email, your website, your contact info, and that will sit on every customer's profile page that you do this on Zillow. I have one person did this in Walnut Creek, California, over 300 homes. If you pull up that home on Zillow, there's his name, his brand, his company, because he met with that owner, showed them that this estimate was inaccurate based on their accuracy data table, and then showed them how to change, modify, pull down pictures, add new pictures, put why they bought the home, and then in the description of why they say their home is worth X amount of dollars, it's because George Massey from EXp Realty came out and did a CMA. And there's George's information. And then, of course, Zillow looks at that and they will make adjustments through their algorithms to the properties around America. So if you guys are interested in that, again, that class is going to be next week on Tuesday. You'll find the information and details at expcloud.com. Folks, we have another session in this room starting in about 9 minutes. I've got to go get ready for that. It is an opportunity for people to learn a little bit more about EXp Realty. We do it every Friday. It's called EXP Explored and Explained. And all it is an overview. It's an opportunity for agents around the world to come into our 3D, fully immersive, high-tech, high-touch world here. But more than that, it's to experience, what does the company offer, our revenue share model, our agent equity program, our higher compensation with the lower cap, a little bit of history of the company. And it just allows agents around the world to compare apples to apples, or in their case, apples to oranges, depending on where they work or what their current career is looking like. And so it's an opportunity for you to invite anybody and everybody anywhere in the world to come into this auditorium. We do this every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. And you can invite anybody to come in here and sit right next to you right now by just sending them an email or text them a link. And that URL is just invite.exprealty.com. Again, it's just the word invite, period, exprealty.com. They can download our world software. It doesn't matter what browser they use. It's not browser dependent. It doesn't matter if they're on a Mac or a PC. And it just gives them a chance to come in and kind of like a restaurant, look at the menu, smell the food, see what people are eating. And if it's right for them, then of course you could be their sponsor and you could start your own revenue share group if you're already here at EXP Realty. So can we give George and Robert, because I know Robert was sitting out there, but Robert's a big part of this because Robert is who brought George into EXP by sharing his story and this model with George Massey. And so George, seriously, I know we've been talking about this for a long time, my friend, and I'm just so happy we got to do this today. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you,
George. Thank you, Robert.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and end this recording.